been up all night?
Of course I've been up all night. Not because of caffeine, it was insomnia. I couldn't stop thinking about coffee. I need a nap. Coffee time!
I feel like it's the stay calm before the crash pamphlet on airplanes. How close is that crash? Is it coming?
Leaving our policymakers at the Fed flying blind at a critical period.
Looks like we're flying blind, Batman.
Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor, and you know how I've been saying that we're months away from the endgame, and I've been saying that for many, many months. Some would say years. Well, a year is 12 months, but now other people from other sectors, other professions, other areas that don't watch money at all, they're kind of feeling that we're getting pretty close to something big. It's the final crunch, which will lead to the final printing run, which will lead to gold and silver going vertical, which will lead to the death of the dollar, the death of the banking system, and a reset, not on their terms, but on our terms. It will be rough. It will be challenging. Some people will not survive it, but those that have money will be able to control large pieces of capital through which we can help rebuild a more sane world on a sound money basis, etc., etc. I hope you will be part of it. But what am I talking about? Well, you know that guy, Jeremy Johns, who is a big movie reviewer on YouTube?
Funny observation, Stephen King's kind of having a year in 2025. Well, between The Long Walk and The Running Man, they're really leaning into that Stephen King dystopian future thing. I feel like it's the stay calm before the crash pamphlet on airplanes. How close is that crash? Is it coming?
And it's also not just me in the financial world. Now, Alistair McLeod is speculating that we have just a few months until the final crunch. I am the one that's saying specifically that after the final crunch, there will only be one more printing round, and that will be it. If I'm wrong about that, then I don't know how much time we have left. But I don't think I'm wrong that the next printing round will be the last. And what are my other pieces of evidence that we're very close to the final crunch? Well, let's look at the slides. But before we do, before we break to new highs in gold, get your gold at Miles Franklin. Link in the description below and mention the Endgame Investor. You will help out this channel and what I do here. And if you already have some gold and silver and you have enough, then take some of it and put it in a dirty man safe. Use code ENDGAME10 at checkout for 10% off. And with that, let's go into the evidence that the final crunch is at hand. This is great. This was brought to my attention by Phil Lowe of The Bitter Draft. We have a show here once a month. But anyway, this is a CNBC article. We're going to go into some very hilarious paragraphs, and you can see as clear as day what the Republicans are trying to do here. So we have this title: White House says October jobs and inflation data may never be released because of the shutdown. Key points: key economic reports for October may not be released at all because of the government shutdown, the senior White House official said Wednesday. Release of important economic data has been at the forefront of Wall Street concerns as the shutdown dragged on for more than 6 weeks, the longest in history. Quote, the Democrat shutdown made it extraordinarily difficult for economic economists. Yes, economic economists, investors, and policymakers at the Federal Reserve to receive critical government data, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said. Here are the funniest paragraphs that I just cut and paste here on this little slide. This is great stuff. Listen to this. With the spending impasse appearing to be near an end, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that part of the fallout could be lasting damage to the government's data collection ability. Yeah, because if you don't collect data for a few weeks or a few days, your ability to collect data is permanently damaged.
Data!
Resistance is futile.
That makes a lot of sense. The Democrats may have permanently damaged the federal statistical system with October's CPI and jobs reports likely never being released, Levin said. All of that economic data release will be permanently impaired, leaving our policymakers at the Fed flying blind at a critical period.
Looks like we're flying blind, Batman.
I wonder if she's on a critical period. Jobs report data should be easy to collect. She's blaming it on that. She's setting it up, obviously not on her direction, but she's setting it up to blame the Democrats for whatever crunch is ahead, blaming it on flying blind because the Fed doesn't have the economic data it needs to decide if it's going to print money or not print money. And that's why they're setting it up for the Democrats to be blamed for the next crunch, which I think they see is right at hand. Anyway, next paragraph. Jobs report data should be easy to collect. This is the commentary, I think. This is not a quote. Should be easy to collect belatedly because it involves asking business for hard numbers, according to Jeffrey Roach, chief economist at LPL Financial. So you need a chief economist at LPL Financial, whatever that is, to tell you that it shouldn't be hard to collect numbers in retrospect because you're just asking people to send you numbers that you didn't have workers to go in there and crunch. You could probably have AI do it by itself anyway. You don't need these people. But yeah, he said, oh, well, it should be easy to collect numbers and, add up things. Like you send a number, you add them together. You can punch it in like a little 1970s calculator. You don't need any Excel spreadsheets or anything. You just punch in the numbers and add it. Anyway, he said the BLS could likely get multiple months worth of data during one collection period if needed. Wow, that sounds like a lot of hard work, huh? Yeah. But he said it's harder to get information from everyday people because it requires asking them about their willingness to work during a period that has already passed. So, okay, fine, don't get those numbers, whatever, but you don't need those numbers to release inflation data or CPI data and employment data or whatever. You just ask for the stupid numbers. It's just the more nuanced collective surveys that cannot be replicated, Roach said. The water has gone under that bridge already. That's so sad. Whatever those nuanced qualitative surveys, oh, we'll never know. The things you never knew, you never knew.
Things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the...
Besides Jeremy Johns, the movie reviewer, who also thinks that there are only a few months left before the final crunch. I don't know if Alistair McLeod believes that the final crunch will lead to the final printing route or whether he believes there is 1 or 2 or 3 more left. But anyway, he writes this article on Substack for paid subscribers. I don't want to share the whole thing. I am a paid subscriber to Alistair McLeod. I respect him very much. We have some disagreements, but it doesn't matter. Collateral crisis in a stock slump, says McLeod. Spectacular stock bubbles are always followed by stock collapse. If the U.S. government is to secure banks and debt zombies, it will have to take control of collateral. This is how they will do it. Now, I don't want to get into the main subject of this article by Alistair. I want to get into a comment that he attaches to one of the paragraphs, but if you want to read this, it's about whether the great taking is feasible or not. He has his opinions. He might be right, and you should know that there are some risks to mining stocks, and the great taking might be one of them. I don't really believe that this is such a problem, especially if you notify your broker that you will not have your shares collateralized in any way and get that in writing. You have a better chance of surviving any great taking, though I'm not so personally worried about it. But if you're worried about it, you may want to do something about it. Some of our subscribers have requested clarification of David Brady's The Great Taking and whether there is hidden motive behind security dematerialization. This is the process whereby stock certificates are done away with and replaced by a ledger entry on a centralized security depository such as the Americas DTCC, Euroclear, and Clearstream. It's all centralization. Centralization is one of the effects of inflation. Inflation causes centralization of capital, of education, of everything the government controls. Everything becomes centralized. We've seen it everywhere, and we're seeing it in stock certificates, in brokerage accounts. Anyway, the final 2 lines here are the point of why I am sharing this piece of his article. In the final lines is here: the consequence of the debt-cum-credit bubble imploding, which it is set to do perhaps within a few months, is a potentially rapid decline in collateral values. So within a few months, people are starting to come to my predictions. I have been wrong. If you want to say that years is not months, and I've been saying this for like 4 years, so that's like 48 months. Well, that's still months. Well, I'm okay. It's still coming. And one more reason that I believe that we are within just a few months of the final crunch is that the SOFR rate, the repo rate, the rate that banks trade treasuries for cash with each other, is getting very, very wobbly. It's getting even more volatile over here. You can see here, there's no baseline even anymore. It's even more volatile than it was over here. This is the rate cut, I think, over here. You can see here that it's very wobbly over here from the beginning of 2025 to about October, the beginning of October 25. And here's a rate cut, and now it's even more volatile. This is the aorta of the financial system, and it is getting really, really shaky.
The cup's shaking. I don't want my coffee shaking.
The financial system is on a lot of coffee, and it's shaking.
You've been up all night?
Of course I've been up all night. Not because of caffeine. It was insomnia. I couldn't stop thinking about coffee. I need a nap. Coffee time!
And because of that, Bloomberg reports that QE is about to restart according to the SOMA account manager. What is the SOMA account manager? SOMA is the System Open Market Account. That is the guy actually behind the desk that trades securities for the Federal Reserve. He's the one actually pushing the button and buying all these things and selling all whatever he sells. That's the guy. His name is Perley, and he's the guy in charge of SOMA. So what does he say? Rising overnight funding costs are signaling the bank reserves are no longer abundant. We know that. I just showed that to you in the SOFR rate. I'm going to skip to this paragraph over here. Several indicators, including higher money market rates, are providing strong evidence that reserves are no longer abundant. Perley, who oversees the central bank securities portfolio, said Wednesday in prepared remarks for a conference co-hosted by the New York Fed. And in the final paragraph here, it says that has prompted market participants to question whether the Fed could be forced to intervene in money markets even before ending the runoff on its balance sheet. They're supposed to end the runoff on December 1st. Doesn't mean they're going to start buying on December 1st, at least officially. But if there is a hiccup before then, you could have the Fed starting to expand its balance sheet before December 1st, which would be a clear signal that they have already lost control. There are other things that I was planning to say on this video, but we will cut it here. The rest will be on Substack. Check it out at endgameinvestor.substack.com. We'll talk about Japan breaking a key trend line in rates and certain very interesting things happening in open interest in gold and silver and the state of SLV holdings relative to the price low of 2022. You might be a little bit shocked by what's going on there. But if you enjoyed this video, then check out my Patreon at patreon.com/endgameinvestor for weekly spiritual guidance as we head into the end game. This week, we're going to go into the first silver purchase in recorded history. Avraham Avinu, Abraham, buying the Cave of Doubles, the Marat Machpelah in Hebron for 400 shekels of silver. I have been there. I have visited his grave. And yes, it belongs to me.